Learning more about life itself and the way everything functions in the world is not only fascinating, I feel like it helps me to function better in day to day, and I feel like it could help you to function better in your own day to day too. When seeking to learn new information, there will always exist the ever so subtle element of confirmation bias. This is the process of actively seeking information that confirms our worldview, or taking any bit of information and making that conform to your worldview. This bias keeps us ignorant and doesn't allow us to understand why something is the way it truly is. When we have our assumptions, we typically only look to confirm our assumptions, which prevents us from discovering the actual truth. This is something that is so easily done. It's part of human nature. For the majority of the time, there isn't too many large consequences. However, sometimes there can be. It can prevent you from learning something new. It can prevent you from improving yourself, and it can prevent you from getting to where you need to be. It is crucial to think critically about any piece of information. And confirmation bias can work the other way too. We can disbelieve and discredit things that do not match with our worldview. And if you try to be too critical about information, then you may end up not believing anything you hear. The key is to strike a balance. Of course, as in all things, having an awareness of the issue is the first step in combating it. And that is the crux of this principle. I think it's crucial to understand the world around you, to understand the way it functions and why it functions in that way. Questions such as, what is the function of society and culture? What is the function of education? And why we have emotions and how they work. The more awareness we have as to why something occurs the way it does, the more we can use it to our own advantage. Now, there is a reason that we don't have all of the people thinking about these questions all of the time. Once you start to consider these things, you usually have an idea on how it can be improved. And as they say, too many cooks spoil the broth. People typically believe that they have a better idea on the way that things should be done. They come up with these elaborate ideas which seem to be intuitively sound. However, this is exactly why the ideas seem plausible. They emerge from our intuition, and if we are keeping these ideas all in our heads, then there is never really a counter-argument to our intuition. Even still, when discussing our ideas with others, we may dismiss their ideas or their criticisms if it doesn't conform with our worldview. And here you can see the power of confirmation bias. We like to live in the fantasy land and think that our ideas would overcome the criticisms of other people just because. The main issue here is that they start to think of solutions before they understand the reason something is the way it is. Before we start to recommend changes, let's first understand why something has come to be the way it is right now. Typically, your idea or your thoughts on improvement have already been considered, or that they simply could not work practically due to unseen forces like human nature. We can sometimes have a great idea, we put it into practice, and it turns out horribly wrong. Now, in saying this is not to put people off testing their ideas and formulating their own ideas. However, I'm saying that when we consider ideas in the future, we cannot neglect the reasons as to why the thing is the way it currently is. Why is your idea already not the case? We also can't neglect how important human nature is when it comes to making decisions. Now, this isn't to say just because it's not currently being done means that it's not worth doing. We aren't perfect, which means our processes definitely aren't perfect. But we must not neglect the reasons that have already been considered by those in charge of making decisions before we provide our own thoughts and our own insights. Understanding why something is the case, why it functions the way it does, how much control you have over its function, will allow you to make better informed decisions regarding that matter.